Hello everybody and welcome again to a Safe Place podcast, and today we're joined by a special guest which is Mark Hall, who is a Shamanic Healer, which is interesting, isn't it, Mark? Do you want to run us through what it is that you do?
Shamanic Healer is pretty interesting. It's a way of healing the soul from trauma. For a lot of us in the West, we don't even really believe in the soul. It's something that we're associated with religion, and we don't really have a lot of truck with religion here in the West.
Yeah.
But we all have one, whether we want to believe it or not. And when trauma happens to us, the soul itself can be damaged. And in that damage, we can lose parts of ourselves.
Yeah.
So the shamanic healing process is a way of reinvigorating that, returning those soul fragments or broken soul, and healing it, making it good, strong, healthy, and giving us access to our full capacity for energy and life again.
Okay, so this soul that you're speaking about, now I have a belief in the soul, but obviously everybody must have their own interpretations.
Yeah.
Can you try and talk to me about what it is, how you define the soul?
That's a really nebulous concept.
It's
You're
a
right.
difficult one, isn't it?
It really is a difficult one. Everybody has their own interpretation of what the soul is, and that's great.
Yeah.
There is no right or wrong answer to this.
Yeah.
Everyone's own belief,
Yeah.
their own understanding of the soul is unique.
Yeah.
And because of that uniqueness, their own journey will also be unique.
Yeah.
And it's the shaman's responsibility to understand that uniqueness. And whether we call the soul, a divine aspect of ourselves, whether we call it an energetic projection of ourselves, whether we call it something we've called into being in the way we live, whether we're born with it, it really doesn't matter for the processes of healing it. All we know is that we have an issue in our lives, trauma has occurred, and we never felt the same as we did after that trauma.
I've got you. So these traumas that we speak about, and we had a phone call about a week ago, and we touched upon the subject, but I have definitely picked up in my life a lot of traumas, and I suppose myself working as a counsellor, I've seen a lot in the clients that everybody comes with trauma.
Yeah.
And trauma, as you rightly say, affects, or it scars, or it seems to have some effect on the soul, doesn't it?
It does.
And our sense of well-being and the energies that we have within our bodies.
Yeah.
So talk to us about somebody you have coming towards you with trauma, and they're in a state of suffering, and they want to escape that suffering in a sense, don't they?
Yeah.
How do you begin to work, Mark?
Well, the first thing is to recognise that all of these traumas have happened for a reason. The path that we have in life is unique to us and to our journey. Because of that, all of the things that you've had happen to you in your life, whether you've had loss, whether you've had bereavement, whether you've had trauma through service, through violence, through car accidents, relationships, whatever that trauma was a lesson for you. That lesson for you is either you're doing something that the soul doesn't like, you're doing something completely against contrary nature of your soul, or you invested in your love in somebody and that love was betrayed in the relationship and broke up. The essence that we're getting to here is all of those traumas are unique to you. However, the resolution is also unique to you. Somebody comes to me with a trauma, we talk about, what is it? What happened? Why did that happen? It was a lesson for you. And instead of recognizing that lesson, and sometimes it's impossible, the trauma is so much that it's impossible to recognize that lesson at that time.
Yeah.
We go, I can't deal with that. And we put it in our backpack, let's call it.
Yeah.
We're putting it into our soul, we're putting it into our energy body. And over the course of our life, we get weighed down and weighed down and weighed down by carrying along all these heavy lessons. And we're no longer have access to our full energy. And instead of, when we used to be children and everything was fine and we'd skip through life with no cares.
Yeah.
Now we're just dragging our knuckles down.
It was a lovely place that was, wasn't it, Mark?
Wasn't it?
That complete and utter resilience to life from being completely unconscious and in the present moment. Yeah. And in a sense, I agree with you 100%. It's like a longing to return to that place, isn't it?
And we all have that place within us.
Yeah.
It never went away. We just believed we had to grow up. We believed we had to take responsibility. We believed we had to follow the societal norms.
So we take on all these beliefs and concepts, which basically they dampen it out.
They dampen it out, yeah. They make it darker. And while we do have to grow up, and while we do have to take responsibility, and while we do have to follow some societal norms, we don't have to take on all of them. No. A lot of the programming that we take on is from a very, very early age. We absorb all this information about what it is to be an older person, what it is to be a grown-up, what it is to love, what it is to be loved. All of the information is gathered from around us in the case of our parents, our siblings, our peer groups, our teachers, our friends, our employers. And actually, as we're going, we're absorbing all this information without recognising that it's just programming. And it's all working for some people and it's not working for other people, and we don't know which it is. And so we end up making a lot of the same mistakes that our parents made, our grandparents made, etc.
Yeah. So this soul that we're speaking about, see if I can try and find a way of articulating it, because it is a difficult concept in of itself, the soul, isn't it? But it seems like there's a longing for a part of us that's ever present for connection, love, unity, understanding, compassion. And what happens is we go through life and we pick up these traumas and misperceive it with our childhood intellect, in a sense, that we're not enough, we're not loved.
Yeah.
And as a result of that understanding, based on a misperception of who we are, we then try and act out in ways to try and heal it, in a sense.
Yep.
And the trauma that we're all suffering with to relevant degrees through our life, as uncomfortable as it is and how awful it is that it keeps coming up, it's almost like it's coming up to be processed in the correct way, isn't it?
That's correct, yeah.
Yeah.
It is either we're making the same mistake again and again and again, and you know what? Everybody does it. Hands up. I totally do it all the time. Yeah. But it's there. And the real issue with mistakes is it's okay.
Yeah.
We're told in school you can't make a mistake. You've got to do this, you've got to do that, you've got to get it right. You don't. Life isn't you've got to get it right. Life is you're going to make mistakes, and that's okay. Just learn from those mistakes. Part of the healing process is recognizing that we've made mistakes.
Yes. And
you know what? I'm not going to make that mistake again. I'm going to learn from that mistake. I'm not going to put myself into that difficult relationship. I'm not going to re-enlist and go into an active war zone. I'm not going to go to that job where I feel demeaned and degraded. I'm going to learn from those mistakes.
And when we do that intellectually, obviously, for me, making my own mistakes in life constantly, I find out I made the mistakes a lot more before I actually had that resolution. There's a drive within me that's picked up this trauma and wants to alleviate, and it thinks it knows a way out.
Yep.
It thinks it knows a way of healing, which is, for instance, I had a client who, he said he needed to constantly work and find some sort of value in achieving. Yeah. And he said, and it was such a sad story, he described it as he would get up in the morning and he had to put a patio down and he could not stop. And the only way he could ever find peace is when his body was breaking down and he went to bed on the night and he could only find a bit of peace then, which is, I couldn't have done anymore. And his psyche, or his lack of awareness about what was going on, said to him, I am out of control, there's something wrong with me. Rather than, and what we do in that moment is we start to make an enemy out of our body. And it was trying to get him to understand that his body, in a sense, took over to try and find a sense of healing for him. Yeah. So we can bring that unity back, rather than my body is against me, it's out of control. Hold on a minute, you're my friend. You're trying to find what I'm looking for.
Absolutely.
But can we refocus where we're looking for that resolution?
So this is a great example. So in the case of this particular client, as a shaman, I would say this man had soul fragment loss or soul healing. Something in his life, some trauma that had happened to him, probably as a child, was you're not good enough.
Yeah.
You have to. He'd taken that on board and he'd learned this lesson that I need to go above and beyond to the point where he wasn't getting fulfilled from above and beyond, because what he needed to recognize is actually, no, I'm good enough as I am.
Yes.
But he never did. So he goes to work and he keeps on working, and he works until his body, he feels, is betraying him.
Yes.
But actually it's going, no, it's okay. We need to stop now. This is too much. Coming to the shaman, you would recognize that, and you would work on why that was. There's the curious thing about shamanic practice, and shamanic practice is like a buzzword at the moment.
Yeah.
For the first time in my life, I'm fashionable, and that's just weird.
That's good.
Just not used to it at all. But everybody wants to, or lots of people want to go and see a shaman healer.
Yeah.
They think it's like going to the doctor. You know, I'll go and see the shaman healer. He'll fix everything. There's a magic bullet, and he'll make everything right.
Absolutely, mate. Yeah.
No, that ain't the way it works, unfortunately. People come to me. We have a long conversation on a phone, usually, first of all. When they come to me for the first time, we'll have a consultation period of about half an hour. They'll chat to me about the issues. And really, it's for me and them to get to know each other and have a resolution that I'm okay with this guy. It's a safe place to be with this guy. At any time in that consultation period, they're free to walk away. No charge, no bother, no hassle, no recriminations. Just, it's not working for you. I'm not working for you. That's okay.
Yeah.
We're all individuals and we all need something unique. So they come to me. We did a consultation period. After that, I start to work, first of all, upon their energy body, which is a kind of like an auric field or a luminous field that surrounds us.
Is that something that you are aware of, in a sense? Because people say they can see this energetic field.
Some people can see it. Some people can feel it. Some people can touch it.
How do you experience it, Mark?
I feel it. I used to be able to see it.
Yeah.
And then I spent too long being a hippie around standing stones, and then I didn't see it anymore. Well, I'd see it as kind of a very faint outline. There were no colours. It was just everything was grey. But it's very easy to feel it. So if we take our hands and we put them roughly shoulder width apart, we want them to be flat. Okay,
flat to the table, you mean?
No, just flat in front of each other. Yeah, exactly. And we want them to be exactly kind of facing each other.
Yes.
And as we very, very slowly begin to bring them towards each other, it's like two magnets, the wrong polarity. They're repelling each other.
I feel a sense of them repelling each other there.
Yeah, exactly. This is your energy body.
Yeah.
We are bioelectrical beings.
Yeah.
Part of this. So as we bring it in closer and closer and closer, you might feel more and more resistance.
Let me just become aware of that, so I'm bringing them in closer. I do feel like there's something there that doesn't want me to bring them together.
Yeah. So it's an energy field. It's repelling them.
Yeah.
That's, we can start out here eventually when you get, quite good at sensing it. You can start right the way out. I mean, my arms literally don't go any further. So, and then you bring them all together. And you will feel at various stages these polarities pushing against each other. So that's your energy body. Your energy body, your auric field.
Yeah.
Now, if you think about your energy body or your field, whatever you want to call it, like hair. When your hair gets tangled and knotted and matted because you didn't look after it, your energy body has the same effect. It gets tangled and knotted and matted, and all the energy that you're supposed to have floating around you, protecting you, sensing you, gut intuition, all of these sixth senses, all of these ideas that you have a connection to the universe that's not here or through the five senses.
Yeah.
That's all in your energy body. And all in your energy body, what we have is this matted, tangled effect, because all of these things in life happened. Whether they were good, whether they were bad, they were traumas, they just happen. And we didn't react to them in the best way. We went, I can't deal with that, put it in my backpack like we talked about earlier. And the energy body kind of retracts. The luminous fibres, as I describe them as, are matted, tangled.
Yeah.
And it's the shaman's my responsibility, the way I work. And, if you took 1,000 shaman, you'd have 1,000 different ways of working. The way I work about it is we then comb that energy out. So we use natural materials to comb that energy out, make it luxurious, make it calm, make it stable.
Clearing that space, in a sense.
Clearing that space.
So this energy body that you're describing, which makes perfect sense to me, because we are definitely physical. But at the same time, there's a lot going on within the psyche or the soul, as the Greeks describe the psyche. And all these different concepts and traumas can definitely create some sort of tangled mess, can't they?
Absolutely.
And it can restrict how the energy expresses itself throughout the body. I'll bring up a personal note in terms of talking about these energies now. When I was 18, I started suffering with constipation, right?
Okay.
So it's quite, I've thrown myself straight into the deep end there, Mark, all right, revealing that. Now, when I think back, around about the age of 17, my mum died of cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And I've tried loads of different healthy eating, loads of different herbs, and nothing has been able to really alleviate what I used to be able to do, which was go to the toilet, release a nice healthy bowel movement and feel refreshed and rejuvenated. Now there's constipation there for days and there's a feeling of sluggishness and a lack of energy.
Yeah.
Could that be something to do with my mum's death?
I would say it couldn't just be. It probably is something to do with your mum's death. In the shamanic world, and I'm using the term loosely here, in the shamanic world, there's 4 levels of energy. So there's the spiritual level right at the top, which is where we process things like loss of connection to other people, particularly those closest to us, like our parents.
Yeah.
So the spiritual world happens. Something happens on the spiritual world, like this bereavement.
Yeah.
We can't deal with it. We don't really process it very well. In the West, again, we're not good at processing grief or mortality.
The understanding isn't there, is it?
No, but it is in lots of other parts of the world. I've spent in the East, in a lot of the indigenous communities, whether that be Maori, whether that be Amazonian, whether that be the Asami in the north.
They get it, don't they?
They get it, absolutely. Yeah. It's a natural part of the world. And mortality is a natural thing. In the West, we don't do it. We take our old people, we put them in care homes. We
don't want to face it. We don't want to look at it.
Exactly. But of course, in that belief that we're not looking at it, that we're not facing it, is that loss of, I've only got a finite amount of time to do everything. I need to get on. I don't have to sit here at this 9-to-5 job and pay the mortgage and expect in the future that I will have enough time to do the things that I want to do.
Yeah.
We have chosen to have a 9-to-5 job. We have chosen to have a mortgage. We have chosen to do, have a life for a family and all these kind of things.
And in a sense, that environment's almost chose it for us.
Yeah.
Hasn't it?
Yeah, because then we're obligated. And once we're obligated, we're locked.
That's what people do. Yeah. That's what people do. That's what I'm going to do.
Exactly.
And they're unconscious in a sense that that's the effect of the environment that they're picking up.
Societal programming.
Yeah.
Now, at any time, they could say, I don't want to do this. But, of course, then everyone else would be like, what do you mean you're giving up your job? What do you mean you're going to go and wander the earth or go travelling? Or
you're the outcast then, aren't you?
Absolutely.
You're the abnormal one.
You're the abnormal one. You're the exile. You're the odd one out.
Yeah.
And, again, this peer pressure makes us conform.
Yes.
And, again, something with our soul is like, I don't want to. I don't want to do that. And it shrinks again. So, again, we're not having that energy. But anyway, back to this idea of these 4 levels. We've got the spiritual level.
Yeah.
Something happens on the spiritual level, we can't process it. So it becomes a denser energy and it sinks down into what we call, or I call at least, the emotional level. We feel there's something wrong. I can't put my finger on it, but I feel there's something wrong with me. It's not working anymore. Something's not going on. Can't process it. Sinks down again into the mental level, which is where people like you come in.
Yeah.
This mental area where we can help and process. We know there's something wrong. I can't put a finger on what it is, but we know there is absolutely something wrong. And then finally, in the physical realm, it manifests itself. It's the densest level of energy, the physical touch. And in this particular level, that's where things affect our body, like constipation.
Yes.
So it started on the spiritual level.
Dense down through the different levels.
Come down and down and down.
And boom, there I am physically affected by it.
Physically affected by something.
So there's this trauma in me. Mm-hmm. And if I go on some experience, I would say it was definitely to do with probably a lack of understanding of truth or reality. Yeah. And it was my needs and wants and desires to try and keep hold of something. I don't know, maybe I'm just talking out my backside here, right? Maybe I'm
as long as you can do it easily,
I'm relieving my constipation through my mouth here now, Mark, all right? So we're looking at, you're describing combing this energy, letting it go. So talk to me about that.
So combing the energy out, we'll use a natural product. I use bird feathers.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you why they work. They just do work. And that's all I need to know.
I think it's when you describe the words birds' feathers, people get a feeling of soothing and gentleness, innocence in a way as well. Yeah. So I can see why we're shifting a state of emotion there from I'm suffering to I feel a little bit connected to something beyond that.
Something beyond that. Yeah. Also, there's an element of the ritualistic within it. If we go to church on a Sunday, the priest's wearing his vestments, or the vicar or imam or whatever, they're wearing their religious effect, and that is to put your conscious brain into a state of going, I'm not in normal reality now, I'm in sacred space.
Yes.
My ritualistic gear is exactly for the same reason. My ritualistic tools are for exactly the same reason. Something different is happening here. Something that my conscious brain can't process is happening here, and so it's okay. This guy's okay. He's wearing some outlandish gear. He's got some strange and funky tools. I don't understand it. Yeah. That's okay, because I've spoken to him and he seems like a really nice guy.
Yeah.
I'm going to allow this to happen. Allowing that to happen, that permission, is almost like they're giving themselves
surrendering in a sense, which is lovely because it
starts to heal.
It is, yeah. I mean, no one wants to surrender because we think that it's on the other side of that is pain or discomfort or absolutely. Probably the trauma that came up beforehand.
And ultimately, the answer is it is. It is there. And it's the shaman's job to help you kind of take your hand and guide you to that trauma again.
Yeah.
In that particular instance, you're not facing it. Let's say we go back to you. So you've had this trauma, the loss of your mom. You've had this physical illness manifest itself shortly thereafter.
Yeah.
So my job would be to clean out your energy body, work on take all the physical heaviness. Again, it's one of those words that don't really translate.
I'm following you there. I'm following you.
So we're taking this physical heaviness. So we've cleaned out your energy body, combed it out. As the shaman, the path of the shaman is the path of the wounded healer. We've gone through trauma ourselves and we've come out the other side. Because of that, we have an empathy to help. We have an understanding of things that you are going through.
Mark, it's lovely to hear, mate. I mean, it resonates with one of the things we say on this podcast is make your suffering worth it. No one can avoid suffering.
No,
life has got a pre-program in it of suffering. Yeah. But how can we use what we've been through to alleviate it in others?
Absolutely.
Which is something that I'm fully with you 100%.
Yeah. So this is part of the gift. And because when we go through that trauma, it's hard. I mean, there's no sugarcoating. It is hard.
Yeah.
It is terrible. But there is the shaman leads really with that light at the end of the tunnel. We can recognize this person understands us. There is that connection that we had once and we lost or went away and we didn't know why. It's still there. This man gets me. This woman gets me.
Yeah.
This person gets me, and in that instance, it's okay. Somebody's recognizing my pain. Somebody's recognizing me. And we take that idea, we take that heavy energy onto us as the shaman. We're going to dispose of it properly.
Wow, so you take that on yourself as well.
Yeah.
That can be, I ain't going to say the word burden here. Because
no, it is.
It is a burden, but how do you... Because in counselling, we can, as counsellors, take on... And talking about this, I could go off into a whole other world about how limited counselling is in a sense, because it doesn't take on these fundamental human faculties. It overlooks them. I mean, CBT therapy for a start. I mean, I can see how it works for some people, but it doesn't touch the heart or the soul. It's playing with the intellect. And it's only one-dimensional in a sense, isn't it?
It is.
So when we look at this, you're taking on their trauma, Mark. That's a big thing to take on, isn't it?
Yep.
How do you process that yourself afterwards? What are the tools and techniques?
I have a really long lie down. No, what I do essentially, what I try and do is, first of all, yes, I'm taking on that trauma, but I have to consider myself to be what we refer to as a hollow bone. It's not me. I'm not doing it. This is just a physical vessel.
Yes.
I am, I have to put my ego aside. I have to just allow whatever happens to happen. And this channel of energy, let's call it divine energy. The word I use is Asami energy. I spend a lot of time in the high Andes of Peru and associated countries learning with different tribal groups. Yeah. The word they refer to, the Quechua speaking people refer to as Asami. Heavenly energy is what it literally translates as. So I am channeling this heavenly energy through me. I'm channeling your heavy energy, your hucha, away.
I feel like you're channeling it from me now. I feel like
cool?
You're lifting me a little bit more up already, Mark. You're doing good.
This is good, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Imagine me in all my ritualistic gear as well,
Yeah.
it'd be even better. So I'm taking that heavy energy away from you. I'm going to take it onto me. It's an interim place. I'm not holding it. I'm going to get rid of it. And I have to then use my abilities and my talents to purge that energy into the ground where it naturally belongs.
Yes.
Rocks, trees, plants, they all exist in the same energetic dimension as we do. And because they're heavy energy, sounds weird, but their root systems are heavy energy.
Yeah.
They thrive on it. So we push all of this heavy energy into the ground, into the plants, and that kind of frees it up from me. That's after the session, so that I'm good and healthy.
Yeah.
So we've done the combing out of the energy body. Then we've taken on the heavy energy of yourself. So you're in a more neutral state. What I'll then do work upon the chakra points, get the energy flowing from heaven to earth and back again. All clean, all fine. And then finally, I'll put together what is easily referred to as a medicine bundle or a mesa bundle, again from my traditional culture. But it really is a source of powerful objects. They're unique to me and they're unique to the places I've been. Some of them gifted for me from different tribal cultures. Some of them have been given to me by people who are very wise. Some of them have been found. Some of them have just out of the blue appeared.
Yeah.
And it's just very, very strange. There's no kind of understanding why. It's just a coincidence, except that I think of it as just natural divine law.
Yes.
That just appeared for me. So,
and again, once we explore that, it's a difficult concept. People have got their own beliefs that can either block that or enhance it.
Yeah.
And Carl Jung would talk about things like synchronicity and the collective unconscious, which is like the soul in a sense. Yeah. And the fact that...
It's a very mental way of describing the soul. And it's a very mental way of describing that we're all connected. Yeah. Because we're all connected. If I do something to you, I go and poke you in the eye right now, you're going to hurt. I'm going to feel bad that I made you hurt. Well, hopefully, if I'm not a sociopath or anything, but I'm going to make you feel bad that I made you hurt. Yeah. And then I'm going to go away and I'm going to, affect other people in the environment that I am, going, well, I'm feeling really bad because I'm going to poke Andrew in the eye.
Yeah.
Bummer.
And it's fascinating because I've thought about this before. I thought, what hurts me more? When someone's hurt me or when I've hurt them. And it's definitely when I've hurt them. I feel more pain within my emotional, energetic body as well.
Because we know that we're better than that.
Yeah, there's an intuition there that's the soul knows. There's a wisdom or a truth underneath all of this bullshit in a sense, isn't there?
Yeah. So the world that we're living in right now is a world that doesn't understand the soul. It doesn't understand healing. It expects competition rather than cooperation. All of the things that we're kind of working in the Western world are contrary to the best effects of our soul. The best effects of our soul are cooperation, compassion, generosity. I'm very lucky in that the partner that I have, the lovely lady that I spend my time with, is the most compassionate, humble, generous, kind. By comparison, I like to think I'm an okay person, but I'm a bit of a dick in comparison to that.
Same here, mate. I'm a bit of a dick as well. So when we look at these concepts, and we're talking about here in the West now, how we haven't got that connection to the soul, it's no wonder why when we look at the current state of society in terms of mental health, why it's just shooting up through the roof. Yeah. There's an absolute thirst or hunger for people to find out something deeper within themselves. Yeah. When we looked at that, when we was talking about those objects, one of the things I've picked up lately, and it's a difficult one to explain again, is the idea that these gifts or these symbols, you are probably the greatest gift or symbol in a sense, aren't you? That whatever it is that you are, which is undefinable, we're given a name when we're born, but the essence of what we are is nameless. Yeah. We can't be named. And when we're given a name or an identity, a mental health identity, it takes away the magic of what we truly are at the most fundamental level, isn't it?
But people like labels.
Yeah.
People will either go, okay, so I've got bipolar disorder, for instance, as a label, I've got bipolar disorder. That means I can carry on acting out, and it's okay because I've got bipolar disorder. Or they say, well, I've got bipolar disorder, but I don't want that to define me. I don't want to swing like a pendulum.
Yeah.
I want to, rock like a boat.
Yeah.
That's fine. I can deal with that. So we can allow your name, your location, your affluence, your finances, culture, religion, spirituality. We can allow all of those things to define us. Or we can say, I am a human being.
Yeah.
You are a human being. We could say that different cultures are different cultures and therefore they're distinctly different from us, therefore they're alien, but they're human beings. And whether they spend time living in the Amazon jungle or whether they spend time living in a city high-rise, quintessentially, we're all human beings.
Absolutely, yeah.
And because of that, we're all connected. And we all have trauma and we all have problems and we all have ways of coping. Just some of them are more healthy than others. In the Amazon, if you have a problem, you go to the curandero is the reference out there. And the curandero works out what it is. In our anthropological label, we've called it shamanism. It's a distinctly different category. There is a trance involved. There's a shamanic trance involved in Mongolia and Southeast Asia where the word shaman originates. And there's also one in animistic societies like the North American Indians or the ancient Europeans like the Celts. There's a trance-like element involved in all of them, as far as I understand it. Anthropologically, because we like labels, we've just said the whole thing is shamanism. So I can be talking about, my particular path, all the things I've learned and different cultures I've interacted with, and you'll tell me I'm a shaman.
Yeah.
I don't say I'm a shaman. I say I'm an animist who uses shamanistic practice. An animist is someone that recognises that everything has a spirit. I have a spirit, you have a spirit, the table has a spirit, the grass has a spirit, the trees and rocks, your animals,
there's an essence
dogs.
through it all, isn't there?
It's an essence. Exactly.
So, Mark, I'm speaking from the heart to you here now, buddy, so hopefully you can receive it that way. But knowing that there's people like you in the world that have suffered and that have experienced it and that have worked through it and that you want to know me and you want to understand. And more than that, you want to take on board, absorb what I'm feeling, my trauma, and alleviate that for me. The world is a better place for having people like you in it, Mark. All right, but,
thank you very much.
I remember you saying that you're moving to Wales.
That's right.
How long you got left before you move to Wales? Because I'd love to do
About
one more
6 weeks.
podcast with you. Would you like to do one more?
We can do one more, yeah.
It'd be lovely to have you back.
I've got about 6 weeks left. And the reason to go to Wales is to create a full-time shamanic retreat so that people can come on a regular basis and stay and just have the beauty of nature around them.
Yeah.
Just get back to those normal cycles. The sun comes up, I get up. The sun goes down, I go to bed. Not the artificial ones where the sun's gone down, but I've still got work to do, so I'm going to turn the lights on.
Yes.
If you go to the Amazon, for instance, I know you've got a young family. So if you go to the Amazon, in the morning, everyone gets up when the sun rises. And the first thing that happens is everyone plays with the kids. Everyone feeds and everyone plays with the kids. And it happens as a community.
Yeah.
But the way they talk about it is that the children are teaching play.
Oh, my God. That is a brilliant way of looking at it.
Absolutely. In the afternoon, the adults take over and the adults teach the kids, hunting and fishing and agriculture.
We're all teachers, aren't we? That's beautiful, that is, man.
So they're teaching you the skills that you need as you get older.
Yeah.
And then finally the sun goes down and then, everyone retreats to their huts or to the communal longhouse or whatever it is. And the elders start to tell the stories of the tribes, their moral stories, their tales of wisdom. And so they're teaching the history and the moral fabric. So the kids are teaching play, the adults are teaching the skills sets that they need, and the elders are teaching wisdom.
What a word for community that is.
Absolutely.
And again, something that we've lost completely, isn't it?
Yeah.
And when we look at the mental health quickly, just to go back again, and we talk about all the adults suffering with mental health lately. I mean, no one really thinks about how difficult and awful it must be for the kids.
Yeah.
And in a sense, the traumas that adults are experiencing that they can't or don't have the knowledge on how to heal, then get regressed down into the children. Yeah. And then the children the next 20 years are going to be suffering with the same ailments in a sense.
Because it's programming.
Yeah.
The adult didn't mean to program that child in that way. But the adult is dealing with problems.
Yeah.
I myself have had many mental health issues or challenges over my life.
Yeah.
And it was, I had the label and I was like, I don't think I am.
Good.
Whatever, bipolar, depressed, or anxiety, or whatever the other, I've actually forgotten most of the...
That's good.
Yeah, the labels they gave to me. And when I did study to be a counsellor and a therapist, I got about 2 years through and I went, you know what, this just isn't as effective as shamanic practices.
Yeah.
Because in the shamanic practice, the second stage, that what I talked to you about there was just like really the first stage.
Yeah.
The second stage is actually doing a journey back in time, a journey potentially forward in time, but usually it's back in time to the moment that trauma happened. Well, if that was a car accident, we'll go and sit there together. I'll make a rhythmic beat on a drum or a rattle, and it's just this kind of trance-like lulling of the conscious mind. Alpha waves begin to, we go, and the alpha waves go, oh, okay, that's a rattle like as a kid, and now I'm going to fall asleep. And it just switches off.
So there's a incredibly, listen to this, and anyone that's at home just questioning it because you've got a very science materialistic mindset, it's actually very scientific based in a sense. You're just describing the different brain wave states and how certain sounds activate certain brain states of consciousness in a sense.
From alpha waves where we're in conscious mind to theta waves when we're in dreamlike state, we're tripping the brain to go, I'm overwhelmed, all this noise, I can't deal with that.
Yes.
I'm just going to zone out. And in that zoning out, you switch it into the theta wave, which is your dreamlike state. Because in dreams, everything's possible.
Yeah.
And so we go, right, at this point, we're taking a journey back to the death of your mother, to bring back to your case, the death of your mother. And so we would sit there, and then either we would get you to say goodbye, which is actually usually one of the big triggers.
Well, it was funny, Mark, hearing you say it. I thought, well, maybe in the second podcast, I'll pay for your services as a shamanic healer, and we will go back there. But then when you said it, I thought, no, because I'd have a breakdown and cry my eyes out, and I don't know if I'd be comfortable
on camera. I think you'll find, and it's really strange, that nobody ever does. There's just this lifting of a weight that's been there for so long. So it's again, I can talk forever, I can ramble.
I'd talk about this forever myself, mate.
But ultimately, what we would say is that in that I call it the second stage. This is where we're dealing with the actual soul. We'll take that journey back to that moment where the trauma happened. We'll have you go through that trauma, but of course, it's like watching through here, on YouTube. We can hit the pause button at any moment. We can just go, okay.
So even though you're surrendering on one level, you're still in control on another, which is a nice way of looking at it, isn't it?
And in that moment, of course, you've got, the Shaman Healer. I'll be touching you physically. Usually have my hand on your shoulder so there's a physical presence here with you.
That's good.
And in all of that case, we'll go through and we'll work out what it was and either get you to say goodbye or tell the things that you needed or to listen to the message that you needed to listen to. And then we'll let that energy go. And in that letting go, we've alleviated the spiritual situation that created the problem in the first place as it wasn't readdressed and got denser and denser.
Have you got websites or anything that people can get in contact with you on?
Not right now, because obviously I'm in transition between going to Wales.
So I suppose you can just give people your telephone number, can't you, Mark?
I do, yeah. essentially it's out there on the internet and I'm baffled by it.
I remember you saying that.
So I'm baffled with it. I used to work at a place called Ash, the Ash House Centre in Erdington in Birmingham. It was a really nice place. It was a neutral venue. Again, if you come to me, you're in my territory. Potential is that I feel intimidated by that. I go to you, I'm in your territory. Again, potentially I feel intimidated by that.
Yes.
So a neutral venue for both of us, like, okay, that's okay. It's he's meeting me halfway.
I've got you.
Yeah, he's not just sitting back and going, oh, you got to come to me, I'm the boss. It's not like that. I'm your servant. I'm going to help you do this. But like every good servant, I'm like, I don't want to go there. I don't want to do that. There's something you're looking for that I can't provide. I will just tell you up front about it.
Yeah.
It's not a magic bullet. It does take time to process it. Things happen in the spirit world and then they percolate down, so it takes time for it to get from there to the physical realm.
Yeah.
And it takes time for it to go back up again. It takes time for that physical manifestation to go, because energy has got to percolate down through those letters. So it's never a magic bullet. It's always going to take time. You're always welcome to come back and have a kind of what I could refer to as an energy MOT anytime.
Yeah.
And ultimately, it's about the decisions that you make. If you want to carry on in the life that you're living, for instance, if you want to carry on in the life you're living, if you want to carry on being an addict, as an example, if you want to carry on being an addict, that's your choice. I can't fix that. If you've chosen to do that and you carry on choosing to do that, that's your. I'm not going to work with you because it's your choice.
I get that, yeah.
So ultimately, what we're looking at in that second stage is recognizing what your choices are. Whether there be choices in the past, and I'm not going to make them in the future now, or recognizing that they were a choice that you made and you decided to walk away from that choice, or you couldn't deal with it. Now you've got to make that choice to recognize it, stand face to face with it.
Yeah, being actually aware that they've got that ability to make that choice, isn't
and
it,
everybody does.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody comes to me and go, oh, you know, you've got this amazing gift. I don't really have this amazing gift. I've just been able to switch this gift on.
Yeah.
Everybody's got the same feeling. Everyone's got the same vibe.
Potential's in everyone, isn't it?
Potential is within everyone, and everyone has the same chance and the same ideas to connect to, let's call it God, the universe, great
many
mystery.
Different labels, yeah.
Again, just labels for something that we can't really put a word on.
Absolutely, yeah. So
we've all got this connection to it, whether we're aware of it or not. We've all have this connection to it. These practices, these shamanic practices work. You know, the oldest psycho-spiritual belief system in existence. As long as mankind has been alive, there's been an element of shamanistic practice or animistic practice.
Yeah.
So it's 200,000 years old. You don't last that long if you don't work.
No, absolutely.
If you're kept alive by tribes in the Amazon, by groups in the desert, by people on the steppes or in the Arctic Circle, it's because it's a really valid, practical way of working, because you got to get rid of all the trash up there. It's got to work.
They're surviving in the elements in a sense. We've been lovely, sugar-coated up in
Yeah.
this lovely little perfect environment.
Absolutely.
So, Mark, that brings us to an end of the podcast. Really appreciate you coming on again, and I'll see if I can kidnap you before you leave to Wales. All right then, brother.
Absolutely.
All right,
Thank you
then,
very much for your time today,
All right,
Andrew.
bye-bye, mate.